Welcome to the WyldLyfe podcast. You're here with your host, Jess Hayes. Today I got Bailey with me. He's a shoe enthusiast, he's a shoe salesman, and he has his own business with shoes. How you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. So, pretty much we're just going to kick it off with, what's your background? Where did you come from? How did you get into this?
So I was raised in farm country, good old Ohio. My grandparents have a dairy farm in Suffield, which is really the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So what inspired you to get into, selling shoes, buying used shoes?
So I'd say the biggest thing was just in high school, well, actually middle school, I bought my first pair of shoes, and it was a pair of KD5 Christmases, and then I bought a pair of LeBron 10s. Bought those off of eBay just because I wanted basketball shoes. So got my basketball shoes and kind of just like worked to get more shoes. I worked on my grandparents' dairy farm and just worked my way up till I probably had 30 pairs of shoes. Anyways, once I got to that point, it was like I would start trading around with people through Instagram and stuff. And after a while, kind of realized I'm having some success with this, and just working with people was one of the biggest things that I enjoyed. And like I said, like going to conventions and stuff too was also something that I started to get into.
So before you started selling at conventions, you still went there just to, check out some shoes? And
Yeah, so what I would do is I would have a table, and I would take all of my shoes with me, and I would focus on just trading up so I could get the best shoes that I could find for myself. So that was really the biggest thing that got me like into conventions, was my like personal desire to have more shoes and have better shoes. Besides that, I mean that's really the biggest part of what got me into shows.
So right here we got business cards on the front of these shoes, and we got some inside the shoes. These you'll be able to find at WyldLyfe Podcast on Facebook. Just go over to Facebook, search WyldLyfe Podcast, and you can find these business cards in one of the posts. And definitely go over and give that a follow on Instagram. And if you ever want to buy shoes, you know where to go. This man right here.
Yes, sir.
So pretty much the next few questions I have to do with how did like your actual startup, like money wise, or how you actually started saving up the money to where you were like you wanted to make this a business. You wanted to buy a bulk amount of shoes and start selling them.
So actually, it's kind of funny that like I almost fell into it, because from going to shows like that, like I just had so many shoes. It was like, I mean, I would get cash offers for stuff and then look to buy more stuff. And I went to my first show, my first big show, I should say, was up in Cleveland. And at that show, like, I was just focused on trading up. Well, in the process, I kind of made quite a bit of money doing that. And that was kind of like flip of the switch.
Yeah.
And just really realized it then.
So, what was your first sneaker con that you went to? Your first convention, that was the one in Cleveland?
Well, my first convention was one in Akron. It was called Start Got Soul. Yeah, Start Got Soul, and it was. I mean, it wasn't like a big show. There was probably 40 to 50 tables, which looking back on it, it was pretty cool. I was 15 years old, and I had my parents like drop me off there with my 30 pairs of shoes. So that was a really good experience, and I really it's not like I made a bunch of money or anything that day, but it was just fun to like trade around and stuff. And I mean, really just like the environment and being around people that are into the same things as you. That was like the biggest thing that drew me back to going to more conventions.
Yeah. So what did it really take to, build this business to where it is now, to build to where you can actually, make this a job?
So I would say, like going to those conventions, I kind of realized that like the more shoes that I had there, the more selection, that I could make more money. So, and then also like going to releases, I'd seen like just from me trying to get shoes, like when I went to releases, I would see like people with their families that are buying pairs and stuff, and I'm like, wow, I never even thought to do that, to sell shoes. So that was like one of the biggest things.
Pretty much aside from like how you started this up, is like when I said your first like sneaker conventions or your sneaker cons.
Yeah.
I just also want to know like some places that you've been, because I have a picture that I'm going to show right here. This picture shows what all you guys had in Chicago, correct?
Yeah. So this picture, it's from me and a group of friends from around here. We all go like local colleges and stuff. We just met through Instagram actually. But yeah, so we made the trip up to Chicago, like shared an Airbnb, and the picture you're looking at is our two tables at SneakerCon Chicago, which was a huge event. I want to say there was over 400 vendors there. But we, like as a team, we did really well, and just kind of the experience of doing that together with people, we really can build a bond through it.
Yeah. So when you guys went up there, you were selling new and used shoes?
Yeah, so yeah, we did new and used. For what I do, it kind of varies. So I would say going to shows, I usually sell more used shoes, but locally and through like online, like eBay and such, I do a lot of used or a lot of new stuff through there. Just because I mean it's kind of hard to show the condition of a shoe
Through
through
pictures,
online. So
yeah.
like, and I mean people are always more comfortable with buying something after they see it in hand.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot easier. And then I know you said like different places we've got to go to. So we're headed to Boston this weekend, and we went out to Vegas. That was 2 years ago, November. We got to go out to Vegas for a sneaker con there. I've been Pennsylvania, a couple different places, but definitely Vegas was the furthest we've traveled for it.
I bet that was a good time.
Yeah, definitely plan to do more trips like that just because I mean, it's so nice because, I mean, it's a business trip, but you do get a lot of enjoyment out of just being around the city, so.
So you were saying earlier when we were talking before the podcast, you have a Canon M3, the
Yeah.
mirrorless camera. So with these traveling and with having these shoes in this business, why don't you try to make YouTube videos?
So the biggest thing is I've had the intent, especially when we went to Vegas, I had the intent of doing that. The biggest thing that held me back from that was just I don't want to hold myself back from making more sales.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like I've definitely been tempted to do it. If I had like a team like at every show where it was like we could get into a groove where we had well this guy's filming and then we'll switch off like halfway through or something like that would work. It definitely is an experience. I would definitely say that. I mean, it's something that I think the entertainment of it would be there. I just don't like I don't want to take that risk because I kind of found a comfortable spot, which
Yeah.
I know that's not always a good thing, but what I do like I enjoy doing it, and I'm really thankful for like the opportunities that I've had through this. So.
So you ever thought about just like you have little siblings, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to travel with you,
Uh, well.
or you don't want them to travel with you.
I got 3 sisters, and like I would say one of them's actually really into shoes, but she's 13, or no, she's 14. 14, and anyway, she's kind of like she's into it, but I mean at 14, I don't know. There's some of the shows we go to, it's not really like a kid friendly environment, so like
Yeah.
I just kind of want to like not yet, but once she gets to probably 17, 18, 100%, I would love to get her into the business and everything. And I mean, really just like learning, like me starting this off young, I was really able to like realize different aspects of business and just really making a living and making money in general. Because like I worked alongside of it, and it was like just the trade-off that you have making money on your own versus like having a job.
Yeah.
So.
So that's always something people say. If you don't feel like you're working, then you're not like you're in a job where you don't feel like you're working, then you're at the right job.
Yeah, and that's another big thing. It's like when you have your own business, you can make your own hours. There's so many advantages to it, but there's also disadvantages to it because it's not like you can go slack off a day at work. Like if you slack off a day with your own business, I mean, you're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely a trade-off.
So when was the first time you started seeing results?
I would say that first show I went to in Cleveland, my first big show. So I walked in there, I had probably like 48 pairs of shoes I went in there with, and I walked out with like 53 pairs of shoes, and I walked out with like $2,000 cash, and I was like, I didn't even know how I had done it. Like it was like I had to like think back through like all of the deals I made that day, and it was just really like, I mean, it was so eye opening, and that gave me a lot of confidence because at that point I was 16 or 17, and it was just like I can't even really explain like how like like it took me a couple weeks to realize like what I had done.
Yeah.
So
So I got a few more pictures here that I'm gonna go ahead and put right here. So things like this, when you order in bulk, does this help with, as for sailing wise, does this help ordering them in bulk?
so these Yeezys, it's a matter of I usually go out and I'll hire people to come with me. We'll wait in line. Um, it doesn't always pay off because a lot of the times there's other people who beat you to it, and that's the thing. It's like it's a big risk, but I would say if like I find deals through Instagram and stuff for like a bulk order of Yeezys, and usually I'm not paying retail for them. I'm paying a premium on top of retail. But that kind of stuff, a lot of the times I'll sell it off. I'll hold it a few months and sell it off in bulk, and that's a whole other aspect to this stuff that I really didn't realize until probably 2 years ago was that I could hold stuff and make money just like it was a stock.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's like another thing, like kind of don't have all your eggs in one basket. So I try to have a mix of the new stuff along with the used stuff to try to like pull it together and make the most amount of money possible.
So as for what we have right here on the table, so like I was telling you before, I really don't know the difference between names and stuff. So between Yeezys, is there like multiple different pair, right?
Yeah, there's plenty of like, especially the Adidas ones. There's like a plethora of colorways. I want to say the Nike ones there was 7 total colorways through 2 shoes. The Adidas ones they're definitely like capitalizing off of the demand for them, and they'll release these 2 colors were um, those those were probably the 8th and ninth of the V2 350. So there's, I mean, and honestly, it might even be higher than that, but there's a ton of them. It's really a crazy thing to see just the demand for them and the fact that these shoes still sell for uh, like $300+.
Yeah, and that's crazy how much they hold their value.
Yeah, and another thing is like with the used stuff. I mean, people see these selling for $300 and they're like, wow, I just can't afford those, or wow, that's just crazy. But if you like look out for a clean used pair, I mean, I've put used pairs up on my page as low as like $150. So it's really like if you were looking to buy a pair of shoes, you kind of gauge it, and where I've gotten to the point where I personally buy mostly used stuff because I'm just like trying to be like financially responsible with it.
Yeah. So the only reason I asked about that is because you have, this many pairs of Yeezys, and of course, when you're buying them in bulk, before you start trying to sell them, you're buying them in, what are you trying to get, like certain sizes or something? Because I feel like buying this many, you would end up with a couple of sizes that ended up just not selling.
So I like to get a mix because when I go to shows, there's a spread of demand. So you'll see, like, I'll go to some shows and I'll sell 10 size 11s, and then I'll go to other shows and I'll sell like 2 size 4 through 6s, and I won't sell any men's sizes. So it's really, I mean, that's the thing. Like I've noticed, like when I go to shows, it bothers me if I don't have something for everyone. So I want to maximize my inventory, and that way I can cover as many bases as possible and hopefully gain as many clients as possible.
So as for Yeezys, is this your most demand shoe?
Oh, by far.
Because I always see posts on your social media, and it's usually 80% of the time Yeezys.
Yeah, so like especially like through Facebook, like my other stuff, like if I were to put these Nike Dunks on there, like that shoe, it's very selective, the group who wants to like inquire about it. And like honestly, most of the time the people who are buying that shoe are other people like me who resell or like very into the market. As for Yeezys, you'll see people, I mean, like around Christmas time, there'll be people that they got their kids and they want to get their kids the Yeezys that they want. So like there's people who are shopping for Yeezys who aren't even really into shoes. It's more like I know someone who's into shoes, or wow, I know these are cool because people think they're cool. So that's a big thing about the Yeezys, and the huge selling point is, I mean, they hold their value well too. So it's really like the market for Yeezys and the demand for them is just so wide, and I mean that's a big thing that drives me to buy and sell more Yeezys.
So you watch the new release list quite often?
Oh yeah, that's like another big thing. Like when you do get into shoes, you have to like keep an eye on the whole like release calendar because you got to plan with your finances So you like, oh, this release is coming up. I want to set aside some money to buy a couple pairs of those. And if you can't buy a couple pairs at the store, like you enter raffles and stuff like that, if you're not able to get those pairs in the store, then you might have to pay a little bit over retail for them. And if you're lucky, you find a good deal bulk off of a reseller. So it's really like it's gotten so big now. Like everybody wants to be a reseller, and you kind of just have to find your lane and stick with it. And it's never wrong. It's never bad to switch things up. But I mean, once you find something that you are making like a constant stream of money at, it is really nice. And with running your own business, you're not always guaranteed that.
Yeah. So what are these raffles? Can you explain a little bit on that? I've never heard of a shoe raffle.
So it's actually pretty funny when I explain this to people. They're like, people who aren't into shoes, they're like, oh, so you win free shoes? I'm like, no, you still got to pay for them.
Yeah.
So like a lot of the times through the different so Adidas app, for example, with Yeezys, you enter on the Adidas app on the release day when the stores like release them, and a lot of the time like Kanye's website, Yeezy Supply will release them. They'll like send out results. So if you'll enter in your like card info and everything like that. If you win, then you get charged. If you don't win, then it'll be like, sorry, you didn't win or whatever. That's like the big thing with Adidas. Other like with in-store raffles, a lot of times they'll do it through their apps. So they'll have you can download their app, you create an account, and then you can go in, look at the shoe you want to enter the raffle for, select the size, and then they have like a computer generated like raffle system. They send out like the results to winners, and then you have to confirm it. And once you confirm it, then you pick up on release day. So, and you still have to pay full retail, 220 plus tax on these.
Yeah.
So it's not really like, I mean, you're just jumping through these hoops to avoid paying resale most of the time. And that's really why there is a market for them, because, I mean, you can't just go into the store and buy 50 pairs. Like, it's one per person, and 99% of stores are very strict about that.
Or they don't even have them most of the time.
Yeah, and honestly, like, it's very rare to, like, on a, like, limited release, like the Off-Whites, for example, like, to find those at an in-store release, especially, like, around where I live, is very hard. Like, a lot of times you're traveling up to Cleveland or even Columbus, Pittsburgh. Like,
yeah.
You got to go a long ways, and you got to put in the footwork to get the shoes. So there's a reason that the shoes are selling for what they are. And a lot of times once you go to Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Columbus, I mean, you're never guaranteed anything. So you're taking a huge risk by putting in your time and gas money and all that stuff to go down there.
So with the there is an unlimited supply of Yeezys, as you see, like you see them all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So how do you still stay a competitor in the business world with other people that are selling Yeezys?
So like, it's really the prices, like, now that there's so many of them, the prices have plummeted. I mean, Yeezys used to sell for multiple thousands of dollars. Like, you buy the shoe, you sell it for $1,500, $2,000. That's just how it was. And it's gotten to the point now where there's so many of them, so many stores are getting them, that there's just more people are able to get them. And it's really just a simple supply and demand thing that you can only sell to people who want them. So more people have their pairs from the stores and all that. And it's a challenge. Definitely sometimes, I mean, I've definitely taken losses on shoes before. I'm not going to be like, yeah, I've made money on everything.
Yeah.
But I try to be smart about it. I try to sense where the demand is. Like some shoes, like, for example, like Bred 11s, Jordans, those shoes, I sold those locally like crazy. And it's just kind of like the demographic of where you live. And you got to understand their taste in shoes.
So with most of your sales, is this mostly on Facebook?
So I would say the Yeezys, I would sell. Really, Facebook's not really a big consumer through Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I sell a lot of times. The people I sell to on Facebook are people that I know personally, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know he has these shoes." So they're buying them for their kids or whatever. They're showing their kids that, hey, he got them. Do you want these? So it's really like Facebook. I wouldn't say Facebook's a big consumer, but here and there. I mean, I try to like get on as many platforms as possible so I can reach the biggest audience as possible.
Yeah. So how do like what do you use to branch out to different places, and also how far will you sell a shoe? Like,
So
do you sell to people like in other states also, or do you only stay in Ohio?
So selling through eBay, I've had some pretty good experiences selling through eBay. One of my like biggest like flips when I was getting into it, I was at the Nike outlet and I found a pair of the Jordan golf shoes when they had just come out, and I paid $127 for them, and at retail I want to say it was 200, and I was like really excited, and it was actually we were school shopping when I bought them, and I came home with a size 8 Jordan golf shoe, and my dad's like, "You bought this with your school shopping money?" And it was one of the funniest things. And I threw them on eBay, and I sold them for it was like $350. And I'm like, "Hey, can you go ship these shoes for me?" I told my dad that, and he went and dropped off the shoes. He's like, that was going to Alaska, right? So yeah, I sold a pair of golf shoes to someone in Alaska.
All the way to Alaska. So do you have to
Yeah.
pay shipping on that, or does the person that's paying for them pay the shipping?
You can set it up so it's either way. A lot of the times I do free shipping where I'll pay it. So just because, I mean, it entices a buyer a little bit more when they see free shipping. Really, I mean, there's like a whole psychology side of like marketing and stuff, and that's kind of something that I don't pay much attention to. I just think, well, free shipping. If I saw something with free shipping, I'd be more likely to buy it. So it's really it's deeper than that, but you kind of just go with your gut. And I try not to waste too much time worrying about the little things. Like there's always stuff that you can't control.
Yeah.
So
Just staying on golf shoes, have you seen these? I'm gonna put this picture
Yeah.
down here. So
yes, those
these Air Max 1 golf shoes, I just came across them the other day just messing around on this app called Goat.
Yeah.
And my boss where I work, he's a huge golfer, and I showed him these shoes, and he's like, he's seen the price, $650 to $665. He goes, who would buy a crazy pair of shoes like that for that much money?
Yeah, it's crazy because the market really, I mean, it's influenced by the economy now. Because our economy, we do have a pretty good economy now, and like golf shoes like that. I mean, the people who do golf, I mean, a lot of the times the people buying those are the people who have plenty of time to golf, and they might have their own business, or they might be a high like CEO or something
Yeah.
like that, and they just want something different.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times it's like what drives people to buy shoes is just the desire for something different.
So I just want to talk about these. So I've seen these pair of shoes all over the place, these off-whites right here. Is this true about that tag, that people would wear them without tearing this little red tag off?
Yeah, so the nice thing about those is it's not like attached to the shoe. But like you'll see people, I mean, it's just the hype. So people wear it just for like just so people see them in expensive stuff, and so they get some I don't even know. So people are aware that
Yeah.
they have money. So that's kind of funny that to me, I mean, I'm one of the people who like I'll buy shoes because I like it. But to me, it's if you do whatever you want with your money. If you want people to see that you're spending that much money on shoes and you want to let them know that they're legit and they're everything, then good for you. But it's just personal taste. So, and I mean, honestly, like, I can't blame someone, like, our personal taste is different. It's just something I wouldn't do personally.
Yeah. So we're getting here towards the end. So what's like the biggest advice you could give to someone, younger that wants to get into this same area of business?
Just go for it. I mean, the thing about shoes is, like, you can get into reselling shoes. You can go to Goodwill's, Plato's Closets. Like, you can do little stuff, and you can make money on the little stuff. And that just kind of works its way up, just like I did. Like I was working, and I did this on the side. So I mean, the biggest thing about just business in general is if you calculate the risk, see what it would be worth, and if it looks like it can pay off, I would say go for it.
Yeah, that's good advice. Pretty much the same advice went for this podcast. It was like, if I wait any longer, then I might as well just forget about it. And if I'm afraid to fail, then I might as well just forget about it. Yeah. So I just went for it. You can't be afraid to start something that you want to get into.
Yeah, and people, a lot of the times, that'll hold people back, is just doubt. And, I mean, the biggest thing is if you can believe in yourself, then you can really, I mean, if you believe in yourself, you can accomplish anything that you set your mind to. And with business, I mean, you have to know a little bit about the background, know a little bit about money. But I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's just simple. Like how much money can I pay for this? How much money can I sell this for? So if you break it down to that and break it down to your time you put into it, and you see that it's worth more than working a 9 to 5, I mean, go for it.
Yeah. All right. So what's your social media? Someone watching this wants to buy a pair of shoes. Where can they find you?
It's at PowerLaced on Instagram and Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. You'll see basically everything we get in. Always posting on stories too. We'll do story steals, and then Yeezy wise, everything. Basically every single release we can get if we don't have already. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on today. As for you guys, thank you for watching the WyldLyfe podcast. You can find all of his social media down in the description of this video. Also, if you go over to Facebook, you can follow us on WyldLyfe Podcast. I'll have his business card on there. All of his social medias will be posted on there also. Give him a follow his business, buy some shoes, whatever you guys got to do. See you guys later.
Bailey Beats.